en aquest acte. Soc Constantí Serrallonga. Avui soc aquí no com a director general de la Fira de Barcelona, sinó com a membre del patronat de la Fundació MWCapital i interinament com a director general de la Fundació. I em van convidar els meus col·laboradors a ser aquí i quan em van explicar el projecte doncs jo vaig veure clarament que no podien no ser-hi, que jo com a capital volia avui ser aquí recolzant aquest projecte al voltant del món de la salut, perquè la Capital des del primer dia va tenir clar que el sector salut és un sector creador de riquesa i a més que és dels sectors que està més cridat a rebre i a transformar-se i a generar un impacte en la societat gràcies a la transformació digital. Per tant, benvinguts en aquesta nova sessió del Mobile Talks, un espai que va crear la Fundació MWCapital ja fa un temps, realment per reflexionar i per compartir el coneixement al voltant dels reptes que planteja aquesta transformació digital. Abans que res, jo volia agrair als ponents, al panel de ponents que avui ens acompanyen aquí i que han fet l'esforç de fer un espai en les seves agendes. La Bàrbara els presentarà més en detall, però vull especialment agrair al Francisco de Paula la seva presència, de Medtronic, el senyor Marc Rodríguez, de Garmin, el David Dellamonica, de Amgen i John Crawford, de IBM. Thank you all for being today here in Barcelona to reflect about the future of healthcare in a session that will be moderated by my colleague Bárbara Vallespín, who is the Director on Digital Transformation Manager at MWCapital. Com molts de vosaltres sabeu, a la Fundació Mobile es constitueix aprofitant l'impacte que ens dona la celebració del Congrés a Barcelona cada any, que segurament és l'esdeveniment més important que avui hi ha al món en tema de mobilitat i transformació digital. Es crea també, la Fundació deia, amb l'objectiu de generar un llegat, d'ajudar també, de facilitar, d'aprofitar aquesta onada, aquesta força del Congrés al voltant d'ell per facilitar aquesta transformació de la nostra societat en el digital. Per tant, tenim el privilegi de tenir avui aquest Congrés a Barcelona i tenir una fundació que treballa cada dia per veure com som capaços de facilitar, de promoure aquesta transformació digital de diferents sectors de la nostra economia. Un sector d'aquests és el sector salut, vostès ho saben. Un sector de salut que conec bé, vaig estar vinculat en aquest sector durant uns anys professionalment i per tant també em fa especial il·lusió ser avui aquí. I un sector molt actiu i amb moltes idees, com avui podrem veure. Consta que ha sigut un gran èxit la convocatòria que s'ha fet. Com els deia, la Capital, la Fundació, diem la Capital quan resumim nosaltres, fa temps que està involucrada en el món de la salut, no és el primer dia que ens hi posem. Joan Cornet és aquí i va ser el primer inspirador i líder d'aquest tema, que després va agafar el testimoni gent del seu equip com la Bàrbara i com el Juan, etc. Aquest últim mes mostra d'aquesta activitat, d'aquesta efervescència del tema salut de la Capital, que hem de celebrar el Congrés de Cardiologia, el Congrés Europeu de Cardiologia, que es va celebrar a finals del mes d'agost a la Fira. Vam tenir present com a Capital un espai d'emprenedoria, de startups, el 4 Years From Now, amb bons startups de primer nivell, el qual ha tingut un gran èxit. Avui se'ns crida a la Capital per portar a terme l'espai de transformació digital d'innovació del congrés més important del món en medicina avui. Això del món he anat molt lluny, però d'Europa segur que sí. El programa d'ILAB mateix, aquest últim mes, que ha rebut múltiples propostes en relació al repte per la transformació de l'ús i la gestió de dades personals de salut, tal com podrem veure en la segona part de la sessió d'avui, amb la presentació dels projectes i dels projectes guanyadors. Abans de conèixer, però, aquests projectes, volem entendre millor, en aquesta primera part de la sessió, com les dades de salut estan transformant aquest sector. Realment, moltes vegades llegim molt i estem convençuts, uns quants, que estem al principi, al llindar d'una quarta revolució industrial que es basa principalment en el poder de les dades, com les dades que abans no es podien tractar amb aquesta immensitat, amb aquesta rapidesa, poden ajudar-nos a transformar models de negoci, a transformar l'economia, a crear noves empreses, etc. Doncs volem parlar d'això, volem parlar de com les dades de salut estan transformant aquest sector en els àmbits de la gestió, en els àmbits de la promoció de la salut, en els àmbits de l'assistència sanitària. I els nostres convidats avui exposaran casos d'èxits respecte a com precisament les dades proporcionen aquestes noves oportunitats pel sector i, a més, asseguren una millor gestió en les pràctiques de l'assistència als pacients i en les operacions d'atenció a la salut. No em vull allargar més. Gràcies als ponents per ser aquí, gràcies a tots vostès per ser aquí també avui i, sense més, cedeixo la paraula a Bárbara Vallespín. Bárbara, endavant.
Gràcies. Moltes gràcies, Constantí. Thank you very much. And good morning to all of you and welcome to this mobile talk organized by MWCapital on the topic Data Revolution in Healthcare. My name is Bárbara Vallespín and I will be your moderator today. Let me first remind you two important things before we get into the discussion. The first thing is you've all been provided with a Wi-Fi login and password so that you can connect to the internet. And for those of you who want to share comments on Twitter, remember that the hashtag is MobaTalks. The second thing is that we have provided headphones so that those of you who want to have translation into Spanish just have to download the application Global Event and follow the steps on the page that we gave you when you enter in the building. Great. So before entering into the discussion, let me share with you a couple of thoughts to warm up. We as citizens are generating a huge amount of data from the very moment that we get up. We use the GPS from our cards. We enter into the social networks. We use credit cards. And we are generating a huge amount of data on a daily basis. Just in the last 2 years, humanity has built a tower of information much bigger than the total amount of data generated in past 1,000 years. And we need to access the information in a safe and secure way, maintaining privacy, ethics, and legal aims. But we also want to provide good user experience, and it's very important to bear in mind that we want to know who is using our data, for what purposes, and under what governance model. So the first question when I was preparing the session today that came to my mind is, why are healthcare data so important? And from my point of view, the answer is very clear. Healthcare sector is a pretty unique sector if we compare it to tourism, to the automotive industry, to retail. When we are talking about healthcare and something is going wrong with data in terms of sharing the information, in terms of connectivity, in terms of operating system, we put life of people at risk. And what might happen is that people die. And this is one of the main things that we need to take into account. But at the end, it is also a multi-billionaire business. Let me give you a couple of hints on this aspect. Most of you will probably know that your healthcare record is worth much more than your credit cards for hackers. Healthcare data sold in the black market is about 10 times more than your credit card data. And the main player in the industry of commercializing healthcare data, which is this, IMS Health, just in 2014, got incomes on the value of $2.6 billion. It's pretty impressive, isn't it? So the electronic healthcare records are worth about 60 times more than those of the stolen credit card. And the reason why this is happening is because your credit card numbers might change, but your social security numbers do not change. They remain the same. So today we will talk about the benefits, which are very clear. We got the opportunity by using data to improve and accelerate research, to identify causes of disease, to understand the effects of treatments and the secondary effects, and personalized medicine among some of the benefits. And also the barriers and the risks, which are, as you might understand, privacy, confidentiality, ethics, legal framework. There's not a clear regulatory framework on data property, and this is a big issue. It is necessary a balance between the desire from citizens to maintain their privacy, and at the same time, we need clinical evidences to advance in research. So the last question I launch to the public is, are we in front of a conflict of interest? And to discuss about the topic, I would like to call on a stage our panelist experts. So please to join me on the stage and take the seat. Yes, all together, please. Can we give them a big applause? So thank you very much for joining us at the Mobile Talk today. It's an honor to have these 4 experts together in this room. And what I'll first do is I'll introduce very briefly each one of them, and then I will ask them to state a little bit their position on the topic today, healthcare data revolution. After that, I will engage on a conversation among the panelists, and then I will open the questions and discussions for the public. So please just bear in mind what type of questions you want to put on our experts whenever I give you the word. So to my left, I'll start with Mr. John Crawford. He's the healthcare industry expert and IBM Industry Academy member. He's member of IBM's Global Healthcare and Life Sciences Industry team, and he advises and contributes to a number of European and global healthcare IT industry associations. He's the lead IBM contributor to European Innovation Partnerships on Active and Healthy Aging, and is one of several IBM executive sponsors and EIT Health. John is president since January 2016 of the European Health Telematics Association, and he is a board member of HIMSS for the period April 2016 until June 2018. With over 36 years of experience in the IT industry, he is a strong advocate for the transformation of healthcare using information technology. Thank you, Jan. Next in line is Marc Rodríguez. He's a key account manager, EMEA business-to-business health for West and South Europe at Garmin. An industrial engineer with MBA from IESE, his career is focused on developing B2B business models in different companies and sectors, such as security, health, e-commerce, and packaging. Marc has worked in the security field on sales and marketing department, as well as in the e-commerce channel related with pharma sector, and the role of country manager for Middle East and North America. For the last 3 years, Marc has been working in Garmin, being key account manager for the B2B health division for West and South Europe. Thank you, Marc. Next is Francisco de Paula Rodríguez. He is Director Health System Strategy at Medtronic Ibérica. For the last 8 years, Francisco has worked for Medtronic, the world's leading company in health technology and sales of services and associated solutions. He has been Assistant Director of ESADE Business School Health Management Program in Madrid for 12 years. Before that, Francisco developed a long career as Managing Director of various hospitals all over Spain. Thank you, Francisco. And last but not least, David Dellamonica. He is Value-Based Partnership Lead Europa at Amgen. David has extensive knowledge in the healthcare and R&D environments. David is graduated in Pharmaceutical Marketing and Management by the Paris School of Business Marketing and MBA about International Business Management in Switzerland. So thank you very much, David, for joining us. So with this, I would like to start with you, John. And when I think about data revolution in healthcare and IBM, the first thing that comes to my mind is IBM Watson. So I would like to know your opinion on the future trends in how decisions are and will be taken differently by making use of data and, of course, IBM Watson.
Okay, thank you very much, Barbara. So first of all, thank you for the chance to address such an august audience on this topic of data in healthcare. And I'd like to start by saying that really data is not new to medicine. We've had extensive use of data for a long, long time, going all the way back to the 18th and 19th centuries, the early days of epidemiology. And it really started to take off in a bigger way in the 1940s and 50s when we started to apply statistical techniques to medical data. So it's really been around in medical research, epidemiology for a long time. But it's now changing, and it's now beginning to show up in clinical practice more and more. And there's several reasons for this. There's some technological drivers that are making this happen. Three of them are the mobile revolution. Of course, we're in the building that kind of represents that revolution. The ability to generate data more quickly, wherever we are, to access it whenever we need it. We've got the cloud revolution, the ability to put data into places in the ether in order to share and move data around globally. We've also now got the more recent Internet of Things revolution, the idea that we have now devices which can generate vast amounts of data, wearable devices, things that we use, things in our homes, things in our cars. And these are all generating vast amounts of new information, potentially. It's data, but it could be information. The thing that's really bringing it alive, though, now is the ability to process this data in new ways. When we think about big data, and it's obviously a very topical thing in many industries, we tend to think of not just volume, but velocity of data, fast-moving data. We tend to think of variety, data which is not text, which may be signals, images, videos. We need to have new ways of processing that information which go way beyond what computers traditionally have been able to do. So instead of just using computers to analyze statistically data sets, which is where we've really been for the last 50 years, we're now looking at the chance to have computers which can do much more, which can employ strategies like machine learning, systems that basically improve over time, they get better at what they do, systems that are really good at natural language processing, that can read millions and millions of pages of text very, very quickly and extract knowledge from that information. To give you some idea of the kind of challenge that the medical profession now faces, it's estimated that every week about 2,100 scientific papers are produced on medicine. But even the most carefully time management expert in healthcare would find it very difficult to read more than about 300 scientific journals a year. So we've got this deluge of data coming at us both from these new sources of information, but also from medical research itself. So what does all this mean for medicine in the future? Well, we have to start designing systems that can deal with this data and turn it into something actionable and useful at the point of care. Now, IBM, the company I work for, recognized this some years ago. We actually created a brand new division. We don't often do this, an industry-specific division, which was called Watson Health. And it really came out of a really interesting challenge that our IBM researchers had set for themselves, which was, could we design a system that was really good at machine learning, really good at natural language processing, and effectively represented artificial intelligence? We built such a machine, it's called Watson, and the first place you would have ever seen it is on a television show, Jeopardy, where it was basically designed to absorb vast amounts of human knowledge and then to answer questions on a quiz show, a live quiz show. So we won the quiz show, we beat the two reigning champions, and we started to think about where do we put this, and one of the most obvious places is medicine. So we created the Watson Health business as a new business within IBM that's focused on data and how to get knowledge and value from it. What are we doing with it specifically? Well, we're very much engaged in the fields of oncology, where we've designed a system which has been trained by world-leading oncologists in New York to basically capture their knowledge and to make it available to other clinicians around the world. So this system is now installed in 50 hospitals in over 13 countries. And it's being used not to diagnose cancers, but to understand how best to treat them. So it's really a decision support system that helps doctors to understand for this particular patient in front of me, what's the right thing to do. We've also extended it now to include genomics. So we have a Watson for Genomics solution, which does similar things looking at the human genome and trying to understand which treatments and drugs would work best. We've also now built a system that can analyze all the clinical trials happening around the world that might be relevant and to match the patient with the right clinical trial. The final thing, which is really very exciting, is we're starting to now teach Watson to read images. So we've now got solutions which allow us to basically look at medical images and reconcile them with what's inside the medical record. We started with the aortic stenosis, basically heart disease. And the idea is to allow a system to read the medical images, look at the medical records, and then make sure that they're all completely in line with each other, that we've missed nothing here. So I would say in terms of the value of data in healthcare, it's finding its way very much into clinical practice now. We can see a future where we will be using many more algorithms to generate medical insight and to present it to the doctor. But I want to be very clear, in medicine, we're talking about a system that is a decision support tool. This is not a replacement for the doctor, but it's something that helps them to make better decisions on behalf of the patient. And finally, I would say there's fantastic possibilities for all of us individually to learn more about what keeps us well and healthy. And I'm sure some of my colleagues on the panel will be talking about this. The idea that we can start to use technology to understand wellness and health for us individually. And this leads us into a very interesting new domain where we can start to be much more able to manage our own health rather than falling back onto the healthcare system to do it for us.
Thank you very much, John. Very impressive. I think, I'm sure it's a unique initiative, IBM Watson in the world. And I think one of the key issues of the success is the fact that you are working very closely with clinicians. And you know that the center of everything goes around having clinical evidences to demonstrate the viability and the usage of this tool. So extracting value and knowledge from data is not always as easy as it seems with IBM Watson. So thank you very much. So let's move to Marc. Marc, there's no doubt that wellness and prevention is becoming more and more relevant within the healthcare sector. And therefore, there's new players as Garmin getting into the healthcare ecosystem. I would like to know your opinion about how the data generated and managed by the type of devices that Garmin has could mean a big difference in the future of healthcare.
So first of all, many thanks to invite me and many thanks to come here. I would like to begin explaining a little bit about Garmin, about who we are. Garmin, at the end, we are a consumer electronic manufacturer. We design our devices, we manufacture our devices, and we distribute our devices across the world, more or less. We are present everywhere. Then this allows us to understand really the market, because this allows us to be really close to the needs of the market, because at the end, all the consumers, all the people will have the access to such devices, such of our devices. Then Garmin, we more or less create these, let's say, wearables and smartwatches, because we invent and we put the first GPS in a watch. It's, let's say, 14 years ago. And after that, you know, the evolution of this sort of sector helps us to begin to focus on specialists as sportists, athletes, and so on, to use our devices to improve the results and improve the quality of their results. Then after that, several years ago, let's say 5 years ago, we realized that some of our technology, knowledge, and data could be used as well for the normal people, for the people that don't need to practice sports or to practice, and they just would like to know and understand if I'm walking 2 steps per day or 10,000 steps per day, which is what OMS is recommending. And at the end, that's when we launch our wearable devices. At the same time, really close to that, we create a new division, which is Garmin B2B Health. And Garmin B2B Health is mainly focused on everything related with wellness, with health, and so on. The point was, in the beginning, was Garmin B2B Wellness, but the point is wellness sometimes is more related with spas, and that's why we need to change, and we change it to Garmin B2B Health. After that, our main idea and main focus is, and let's say our philosophy, is one device does not fit all. And that means that we need solutions, we need devices for everybody. We need to, not only in terms of technology, but as well in terms of pockets of money. That's why we still and we will continue to be a consumer electronic device. Because at the end, if we mark with a doctor with a medical device and so on, the cost probably will increase too much. And at the same time, for us, which is really important, is not is more the data analytics. And that's the main topic, even the main topic of today's event, is how first we are really sure about the data we are capable to catch with our sensors. And then after that, we create via APIs, SDKs, and so on, a very big, huge ecosystem of specific solutions that will target the specific needs of each niche. And that's, under our point of view, the best way to approach the market. Because with the same data, you could not only do gamification, personal gamification, and also you could even prevent some disease or segmentate a little bit the market. And that's really important. Then, in order to finalize a little bit, under my point of view, I think that all of us are patients. We were patients, or we will be patients, but anyway, all of us needs to prevent. And under my point of view, the key point here is the prevention. And I think that we need to focus more and more on the prevention, because without that, with the prevention, we could even sometimes avoid some disease and some, disease.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for this valuable insight. I agree completely with your thoughts, and I think later on you will be providing a couple of examples and how these type of devices and how wellness prevention and raising alarms in the right time could save life of people. So thank you for that, Francisco. We all know Medtronic is one of the biggest company in the medtech industry. So tell us a little bit your thoughts and your position about the healthcare data revolution. What is happening?
Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for allowing me to be in front of that audience. I would like to present you in terms of making tangible the use of data in healthcare, in real-world healthcare. One single example of an implementation we have made in a hospital 1 kilometer away from here, the St. Paul Hospital, with relations with them that's ongoing now for 1 year. It's very specific. I will try to explain it very easily. Hopefully you understand me, you follow me. It's about remote monitoring of patients with an implantable cardiac defibrillator. This is a device used for some specific illnesses of the heart that must be treated with an electroshock in the precise moment it's needed, and actually those devices save lives. After the implant of that device, the patient has to get in a follow-up process. This follow-up process in order to check patient status, the status of the device, and the settings of the battery, etc. This follow-up process can be done in 2 different ways. In the classic presential way, through which the patient has to be appointed periodically in the hospital, in the outpatient settings, every 3, every 6 months, whenever the doctor thinks, and goes directly to the hospital and have their visit. The other way is to make remote monitoring. All those devices do actually send a lot of information through the internet in a very easy way that's stored in a web page of each of the our competitors and ourselves as well. There is one thing very important to retain here. 85% of those follow-up visits are useless. There was no need to make that follow-up visit because everything's okay. Nevertheless, the patient has come to the hospital and has underwent the whole visit. 85%. Only 15% of those visits are relevant in terms of changing something in the setting, in the plan of the patient, whatever. It's very important to retain in this point as well, and this has actually happened, that the way in which those 5 actors selling defibrillators, the way in which all those devices send information to the hospital is quite different, in a quite different format, with a quite different display. Some of them are a PDF, some of them are an Excel, some of them are stored in the ICD, some of them are not storable, but just you have to look at from the device. So the thing is that only 10% of the patients with an implanted device are in remote monitoring because of the nightmare that represents for doctors to make follow-up of in 5 different ways, let's say to 2,000 patients. This is how it looks like. So we have a massive amount of information available and not used. We have an information fragmented, stored in the devices, stored in the website, or stored in the electronic health record. And we have information not consolidated. So we just can take decisions about those patients one by one, patient by patient. Now, what has been the Medtronic solution? I have to say that this has been a public tender, publicly published at the European level and awarded to my company 1.5 years ago, so it's ongoing. And what did we provide in terms of managing data? We provide 3 things. Number 1, we provide a software able to gather information coming from all those 5 devices, not only from ours, but from our competitors' devices as well, to put all this information in one single format, giving importance to what clinician says is important. So organizing the information in a way that's understandable and easy to read for the doctor. And at the same time, this format is absolutely transferable to the electronic health record. So at the time of the transmission, the data are also in the electronic health record. So number 1, software. Number 2, we are providing what we call a remote monitoring support center, against this concept of not doing anything autonomously, but supporting the doctor. We divide in this center all the transmissions from the devices in just three different groups. Green transmissions, everything's okay. If you don't want, you don't need to have a look at the transmission. Everything's okay. Yellow transmissions, there is nothing urgent, nothing to take care immediately about, but you should have a look at it. And red transmissions, patients need immediate assistance. Greens are 70%, yellow are 20%, only 10%. It depends on how guaranteed doctors want to be, where they set the levels, there are more or less greens, etc. And the third thing, so software, support center, and the third thing we provide is an app for the patient, through which the patient is permanently aware that the remote monitoring is taking place, that the level of transmissions that are being, the care or the frequency at which doctors are having a look at their controls, and he has to type as well some things. So to finalize, what is the value we think we provide in this way of managed data already existing but not being processed? We think we provide value for the patient. We avoid unnecessary visits. We accelerate those visits that are really needed. And finally, we increase satisfaction. Patient is happy, not having to go to the hospital for nothing, and being sure that when they are appointed, it's because there is a big reason behind. Value for the patient. Value for the doctor. Doctor is only required when he's really important, and not for routine, everything's okay things. This is very motivating, that he feels that he's important or he's in place only when it's necessary. And peace of mind for him. He may have 200 patients implanted, but he knows all of them are permanently under control. He drives the control. For the value for the patient, value for the doctor, value for the system. Imagine such a reduction in outpatient visits, how you can adjust the headcounts, nurses and doctors that you have to have on call in the outpatient settings. Very important. Another detail, maybe not so important in terms of health, but very important. You know precisely the rate at which every battery is going to be, will be changed. So you have your budget, and you have your prediction quite accurate. And finally, I think it's also very important for science. Having, for example, I made some numbers before. When we're talking about ICDs in Spain, we're talking about 50,000 people. Would that be pacemakers? We are talking about 500,000 people in Spain. Going to Catalonia, we would be talking about 85,000 Catalans wearing a device producing data that's not used. So I think also science is using those data for generating evidence or generating best practices or identifying best ways to do things is also a source of value. So value for patient, value for doctor, value for the healthcare system, and value for science. And I think this is a concrete, existing, ongoing example on how available data, properly managed, can produce real value for a lot of players in the sector.
Well, thank you very much. It's been very interesting to know a concrete experience working and real practice, and thank you for that. There's two things that comes to my mind when I listen to you. The first one is you raised a hot topic, which is standards and interoperability. It's incredible how much we advance in technology in general, and still we are dealing with problems related to standards, problems related to information that cannot or is not compatible with the healthcare system. It's really, we are so advanced in artificial intelligence, in big data, in all that, but at the same time, we are not able to make compatible all the information coming from the devices within the healthcare system. Is pretty interesting. And the second thing is, I have a very direct question for you. You were talking about the app for the patients. So I would like to know, how is the engagement? I mean, do you have numbers on the percentage of dropout of patients? Because you know that it takes a lot to have patients adherence to apps. They use it for about 3 months and they drop out unless they really see a value and they got return on the use of that type of technology.
It's a great question. We play with a certain advantage. Patients wearing an ICD, a defibrillator, they are absolutely conscious that they have a life-threatening illness. And they are able to do whatever may help them to live. You have to imagine, we're talking about patients, most of them old, over 65, but quite a lot of them sportists, young people. So when caring about health in those terms, having adherence to an app is easy. I would say the other way around. Once they deal with the app, you don't get them away from that.
They don't want to stop using
Yeah.
it, right? Okay, thank you for that. Very good. Let's go to the last panelist to know your position about the revolution. David, pharma sector is with no doubt one of the sectors that is going to be most transformed by the digital transformation. And a new business model based on a value and on a service offer is been around in the pharma sector, and not so much a focus on product selling. So I would like to know how Amgen, and your personal view, because you have a long trajectory in the healthcare industry, how do you think that you could take profit of the digital transformation and the tremendous amount of data that the final user is generating?
So first, thank you very much, Barbara. I'm very happy to be here in Barcelona. Thank you very much for this smart audience to be here. It's a lot of people. I'm quite impressed. But I will start, in fact, to reorganize the panelists here, just to have in mind. So I will take your seat. You will be here because you are IBM. You will be close to me, so we change a little bit. You will understand why, in fact. It's very interesting. So we change. You are
unexpected.
here.
Unexpected,
You are here.
yes.
And we are here. Sorry, you stay here. Okay?
I can understand now.
So you understand? So don't forget your...
Prevention.
Exactly. So you see, we are a pharma industry. So what we are doing is drug. So most of the people who are in this room who know somebody who had a heart attack, raise your hand. Yeah, it's a lot. Oh my God. So in fact, what we are doing, and what we are doing very well with this gentleman, is we are managing, in fact, healthcare. Okay? This one is, he used the word prevention. I'm conscious with prevention because it's a hard word. But in fact, what he's trying is to make the people healthy every day. Using smart connected device, manage your heart rate, manage your high capacity to jump, and so they are managing the life of the people in the real environment. For us, in fact, the problem is we are appearing when there is problem. So we are a very narrow part of the life of the people, and we expect to be very narrow because when you have implant, what do you name your defibrillator? It seems that you have a lot of problems. So in fact, we are a very narrow part. But after, all these people here are generating tons of data. Our life is data, in fact, because you generate data by your captor. People are using your app. They request, in fact, new tool. For us, we have drugs, in fact, in the market. So these drugs are sold for people who have cancer, who have a heart problem. And in fact, we try, in fact, to understand how we can manage, in fact, this environment of the people. And after, you have this gentleman who is providing, in fact, I don't say the brain because it's giving too much to IBM. I'm sorry, but in fact, IBM is providing, in fact, the tool to use all this data and, in fact, to create something intelligent. But to create something intelligent, you need to ask the good question. So the good question is always the most important and finally the most complex. So what do we want to solve by using the data? What do you want to create by understanding this data? How we can improve something by using this data? So that's why I think the future will be very different. So you will have the people who prevent, you have the people who are curing, and you have the people who are managing the data. So on my point of view, because this is the question for Amgen, Amgen is a very smart company to develop drug. What we are doing very well is drug development. We are, I think, super strong. Now the question is, when you said we are very strong in drug development, it's because we are understanding biology, physiology, disease, but we are not understanding the life of the people. So the future of pharma industry will be more related to how we can create value. And with the word value, and you like this value-based healthcare concept, the value-based healthcare concept is how we create value by using outcome and giving a different outcome by decreasing the cost. because the cost is very important. Tomorrow you will not pay so much for your drug or your service around your drug. So the future will be to understand, in fact, this value and to create sustainable services, drug that will help the patients and globally the environment. So in fact, there is some revolution in clinical trial. So there is probably people in this room who have startups who work on clinical trial identification of the right patients. So in fact, this is how we can identify the patients who can be eligible to enter in this clinical trial. So in fact, there is one way, it's decreasing the cost of clinical trial, optimizing the clinical trial. There is tons of revolution in our world to do biology. Biology is transforming everything. You talk about imaging. Imaging is also transforming the way that we are diagnosing. And after, you have different type of drugs that are entering in the market who are super smart drug with very high technology. For me, it's like going to the moon. You know, the technology that you have now in this drug are absolutely fantastic. And also we link with device, because when we are injecting, and I talked with Medtronic about injection. So injection is also something that infusion, Medtronic is very strong, but now a drug is like a superpower, but you have also the car inside. So the car is the injector or the infusion. So how we can make this communication between the drug and the infusion. And after, you have your life with the drug. So you can have side effects. So how we can monitor the side effect and understand by you that your side effect with this drug is this one. Because you are not everybody. You are independent. You are you. And not all the people will have the same type of side effect. So understanding side effect. And after, understanding response to treatment. Your treatment is working very well? Yes. How we are sure that it is working very well if you have a chronic disease? So we will capture this data from you again, because you will use your phone, and your phone will be, I think, your best friend in the future, and is already your best friend. So in fact, we will capture this information, and one day you will be cured. So if you are cured, you will disappear of our environment, and you will come back to this gentleman trying to run and to push away from your life the bad thing of alcohol and cigarette and stuff like this. And one day you will come back to us. And in fact, for us now, the question is how we can understand, in fact, the life of these people. So the future of pharma is absolutely not anymore to stay with this, okay, we give you this drug and bye-bye. It's to try to understand the life of the people and to say, okay, our drug is for one day, and how we can make this life different. So that's why I see yesterday fantastic startups who are doing fantastic stuff. In fact, data is part of big ecosystem of companies who are doing big data, but also the word big data, there is a lot of stuff around big data, but there is also venture. So I see that in Barcelona we have this Alta partner in Pier 1. It's also company who are doing social network, etc. People who are financing, like the crowdfunding company, and etc. So I think for pharma it's very important to be connected with this world. This is what my message, I think. We will not become super digital people tomorrow. It's not. We are doing drug, very good drug, but this is by working with people like you, people with Medtronic, with IBM, that we could probably change the way that it's now transforming.
Yeah, and you just mentioned something that I think is essential. You mentioned partnerships. So for the first time, yes. I mean, the industry that were not used to work together and collaborate in public-private partnerships are seeing the benefits and are seeing that only by working together towards a common objective, they will be able to get to that type of solution. So thank you, David. I think you made a great point. And also about the reflection you just did, I would like to ask John about how to measure the value. I mean, everyone talks about digital transformation, about technology, but it's very difficult to see the return and to identify frameworks with concrete KPIs that can help us to measure the impact in terms of business, in terms of qualitative also. How does IBM do that? Because you're much more advanced than many other industries.
So this question of value is really, really significant. In fact, within our Watson Health business, we have a particular unit, which is the value-based healthcare unit, which is really focused on trying to extract value. Now, you may be familiar with the work of Michael Porter, Professor Michael Porter, very famous for the Porter 5 Forces model of competitiveness. But more recently, he started to look at what does value mean in healthcare. And he came to the conclusion it's a very simple equation. Value is outcome over cost. So the more outcomes you can achieve at the lowest cost, that represents value. Now, he's basically been behind an organization called ICHOM, which is the International Collaboration on Health Outcomes Measurement, which is looking at what really is the true cost and outcome of a complete end-to-end medical journey, if you like. Take a hip replacement or eye surgery or heart surgery. It's important to understand what that is, because until you understand, the value that you're creating, you don't know which is best. You have to measure it to know what's best. So we have acquired, as well as basically building new cognitive AI solutions under the Watson banner, we've also acquired companies that have huge amounts of data. We bought a company called Truven that had 160 million longitudinal medical records, another company called Exploris. And the idea behind this is we have to really help the healthcare system move towards being able to base its whole activity on value rather than just procedure. The other thing I'd say about this is that there's an emerging new trend, which you may have seen. Certainly it's big in North America. You'll see it increasingly in Europe, which is called population health management. Mm-hmm. And the idea of population health management is that now we've got the data, it should be possible to aggregate this data at, let's say, the primary care level and understand for a given population, let's say 50,000 people, what's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years to all these individuals. Which of this 50,000 population is going to develop type 2 diabetes or likely to? Which of this 50,000 are going to develop congestive heart failure, and so on. And once you understand that, once you can derive that from the data and make predictions about it, you can then act on that knowledge now rather than waiting until people show up with symptoms 5 to 10 years' time. Why is it important? Because again, if the healthcare system is under pressure, and they all are under pressure to make the money go further, the best thing you can do is to anticipate demand and to try to slow it down or even prevent it altogether. And that's why techniques like population health management, using data to predict the future, using data to understand health risks, and then acting on that knowledge is going to be a really growing trend in every healthcare system. And we need the tools to do that. Medical records don't do that on their own. They're just the, if you like, the foundational layer. We need systems that can take that medical record and understand what does this mean looking into the future. And that's what this new science is really all about.
Thank you. I know there's a couple of policymakers and some regulators around the room, so please listen to Jan, take note of that, and later on the networking session, just go and talk to him. We really need to change the way business, the way the models, the traditional models are working, because they are not valid anymore. So I agree with you. Francisco, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, just to fully agree with my colleague, but to add up, I think a very important point regarding this value-based shift, value-based healthcare shift, through which the sector shouldn't buy or pay for doing things. The sector should pay only for getting value from the value they get. And if they don't get value, it's questionable whether they should pay for it or not. Mm-hmm. So the central question is, does any technique or any intervention produce value or not, number one, and to what cost? Mm-hmm. The ICHOM, this consortium for outcome measurement, is trying to globalized, universally recognized value for the most important conditions, the most important illnesses, but not the cost. The cost is specific, is geographically specific. The value is the same in Boston than in Delhi. The cost is quite different. So ICHOM doesn't deal with cost. Cost is very geographically defined. Value could be worldwide defined by experts, right? So data play a big role on that again, not only in measuring the outcomes of recuperation of the patient, but also in defining the cost at which you get that outcome. And that's where data plays also, data collection, gathering, and analyze plays also a great role in terms of defining value. Outcomes divided by cost.
Yeah, thank you very much, Francisco. Marc, let's go back to the prevention part. We know the consumer are very interested in devices that monitor step, hours slept, heart rate, and so on. And it's been shown that introducing these devices could help to improve patient engagement and also outcomes. So this can be obviously helpful for patients staying independent and reducing unnecessary doctor's visits. Could you tell us a little bit your experience? And I'm thinking about that concrete example that you explained to me in the US with the elderly.
We have different experiences at the end, and I fully agree with you about that monitoring the activity or monitoring different patterns or different points or sensors of somebody's life. It's really useful, to catch information and have a day-to-day information that then could be used by as a data, and this data then needs to be we need to analyze this data in order after that to have conclusions that could help these guys. Doing that, we are working with some of our partners, and one of them in the US is working to predict diabetes and segmentate the population in different parts of the degree of diabetes. And one of the points we work to do the trials in elderly residents with high-end premium residents in which all the users are going to visit the doctor once a week. And the idea here was that some of the users use a Garmin device in order to follow the activity of the user, the heart rate, the sleep mode, and so on, in order to understand how this data could be useful in order to define the population. And all these users are going to visit the doctor, as I say, once a week, and the doctor, what they say is they verify and check different patterns or different points of this patient. After several weeks, we know our partner, which is analyzing all this data, detect that one of the patients has something different and something special and something not normal. If I remember, it's regarding with the heart rate, and no doctors, nobody detect that strange thing. Why? Because when they are checking this user, they are doing the first check, they check A, B, and C. They never try to check other tests and other trials. And the good thing of that is we or our partner detect this abnormal thing, and then the next day they receive the visit of the doctor, and after that he goes directly to urgency to surgery the heart, because it seems that he had something really dangerous for his life. So at the end we are really proud that by doing something like that we could prevent some not disease, but some actions or some less disease or illness. But the important thing related with prevention at the end is also related with the obesity, related with this sort of today's illness, which at the end is sedentarism, which today even OMS is recommending that the people, we are too much sedentary and more sedentary, and this is creating a lot of other patterns, other disease like obesity, like stress, and so on. And devices or the possibility to monitor or to catch this information and even to motivate the user to do something new to motivate him to work, to motivating him. This helps then to have teleassistance in some cases, and helps also the system to take care about these people.
That's a great example, so congratulations for that. David, I have a question for you. There are many concerns from the citizens when it comes to sharing their personal data in healthcare. And I would like to know your opinion in terms of, do these people to benefit from big data will have to give away part of their privacy? Do you think that will be the case?
It's a strange question for a pharma, in fact. The question is more for this guy, because he's just dealing with all the data of the people, and people don't care to share their data. On the pharma point of view, the most important is the privacy of the people. So, we are dealing with with people that are in situation of danger. So, we name this compliance or data privacy, or there is tons of word around this. And this is one of the most important stuff that we are managing in our company. In fact, just to avoid any conflict of interest, avoid, etc. But now the question is, again, it's not the question of sharing data is very important for science. Okay, in California there is, and it could be a good idea for Barcelona to be like this. Yesterday we have this discussion on data from Barcelona, and the place where you are using data could be different. And in California you have this trend that people who have genetics and people who are just trying to have their epigenetic links with their genetics by using phone and the device. In fact, all these people are sharing this data because they trust that it is value, in fact, to help science. I think it's very good. I think it's fantastic because having data are very important. But again, we need to be aware that our data is value for others. And what is the business model for sharing my data with this guy who is just using my data without any consent and blah, blah, blah? I'm not sure that in the future it will happen like this. So that's why I come back to Michael Porter, and Michael Porter creates something very fantastic around not the value again, but on the ecosystem environment. That's why in a town like, in a city like Barcelona, the link with university people who are just thinking about philosophically why using this data, why sharing this data, but also in the legal point of view. Are you sure that you can share this data? Are you sure that you can sign this agreement with a company who is based in we don't know where, and just click on the button and say yes, I can share everything? And so. I think the way that we are thinking the interoperability of the data is something very, very important. There is a subject also that I think could help a lot in the future concerning privacy is blockchain. Why blockchain? In fact, because blockchain could help, in fact, to have access to different type of data in a secure environment. But before implementation of blockchain, there is tons to do in terms of what type of interoperability of data. This is what you said with with the data from your device. But most of the data that we have, connection with hospital, connection with social security, etc., the data are not lean. In fact, we cannot have access to all this data easily. So interoperability of the data could be one of the big subjects just to arrive to what type of privacy you need to create.
Yeah, thank you. John, do you want to add something?
Yes, thank you, Barbara. So this question of data is a really important one to get right. And, data has been called the oil in the digital economy. You need to have data to generate value in the digital economy. Now, in the UK, we had an attempt to basically create a national database called care.data. The idea was to bring together all of the health and social care data from all the people around the country and put it into one place where it could then be used for a whole variety of purposes, from medical research to epidemiology to social science, and all with the right permissions, of course. That project was brought to a halt because the press got hold of it, some doctors didn't like the look of it, and what happened was basically the public lost trust in what the data was going to be used for. So you need to kind of create this reality of transparency and trust. I'm going to give you my data, but I want to know what it's going to be used for, and I want to approve the use of it. So yesterday I spent some time with Aquas and TIC Salut here in Barcelona, hearing about the plans to build a research database for Catalonia. And I think there's been a very good process here because you've had a very open public consultation about what's being attempted. And I think the key thing is to retain the trust of people. The minute you make this thing non-transparent and you start to lose trust, that's when it becomes an issue. Individually, we can all agree that it's a good thing that our medical data is used to promote medical science and to help cure other people's conditions. But at the societal level, we've got to ask some questions about how do we make sure that we're not just giving this data into the hands of people that will then use it for purposes that we don't necessarily approve of.
Yeah, thank you very much, John. Francisco?
Yeah, we were discussing before the talk began that we may be, no discussion about the need of data protection. This is an accepted issue, no discussion. But conceptually, this data protection should be nothing else than a trustable protection, but not a barrier.
Yeah.
And sometimes for wanting to be guaranteed till the end, you really don't get to results because protection becomes a barrier. And we should rethink when this happens, whether we're doing the right thing or not. I always raise the example of a woman going to the gynecologist that would claim that she's going to lose intimacy. Yes, you're going to lose intimacy, but you're going to your doctor, and he needs to explore you and to examine you and to do something. So where is the balance between protection? It's not easy, but we should sometimes rethink about data protection as a barrier for development.
But we need clarity, huh? Frankly.
And transparency.
Who is
I
using
agree
an
with you.
iPhone in this room? Okay, 90% of the room. So who is using something for running? You run with your iPhone? I run. So you use the small icon with the heart inside? Okay, everybody, do you know where is your data?
You do. Tell us where.
Yes. So there is big question. There is there is big question.
Mark, would you like to add something, since you are the only one who has not been...
I was hearing about all that topics, and before we just spoke about that, because at the end, the data privacy is really important. Even for us, what we are doing, and for us even is a little bit restrictive, because we have the data, we are catching the data, and then sometimes, and not sometimes, every time we are receiving some partners that are telling us how we could share information, and we always say the same. You will create your own data, and then your user will accept or not to share the data with Garmin, or not to share the data, to extract the data that Garmin is using. But in our case, for example, and that's something really, we try to be transparent with that. It's not the user. We are not, never, in our case, in Garmin case, we are never sharing the data of the user. We are sharing the data of the device, which is completely different. Because at the end, if you, for example, create your own data, for example, IBM create their own app, and in this app about healthcare, they use Garmin, the sensors of Garmin. what the user needs to do, and that's maybe complicated, and maybe it's something we will need to think in the future, how to adapt that, is they will need to create an account in IBM, then create an account in Garmin, and then the information who is going is from our device to our server, then to the server of that guy's, but it's not the information of Marc Rodríguez, tall, weight, no, it's information of the device catch 10,000 steps, blah, blah, blah. And this is the information that is going there. And then their IBM needs to join again the information. So it's a way, in that case, to protect the user, but not the information.
But with IBM, I'm not sure that we have this, in fact, sorry, but in fact, yes, you can have identification of people, but most of the time with IBM, you deal with volume of data. You don't care about the individual, except in the case where you are searching for a drug interaction with protein and stuff like this. But most of the time, IBM is dealing with massive data collection. So this is the capacity of IBM.
I say IBM, it could be Amgen, it could be Medtronic, it could be
We don't see the data of the
know,
people,
but I know.
Well, thank you.
You always try to be agnostic in this case.
Yes, it's very important.
Thank you very much for this very good insights and sharing with us your thoughts. And now is the turn to open the discussion to the public. I'm sure that you have many, many questions. I hope you do have many, many questions. So please raise your hands, and there's a couple of microphones that can be gotten to you. Please state your name and your company before you say the question. Thank you.
Hello. Yeah, this is Alejandro Ribó. I'm part of the digital transformation team of Michael Page, recruitment. And I've one question to all the members. There's no one in here from a government, public something. And I feel they have lots of money. And in terms of prevention, they could spend millions, billions maybe, perhaps from data from Garmin, not going into heart attacks or oncology or stuff. So do you think we are close to prevention in terms of detecting, when I go to the doctor and I have some disease, sometimes it's too late. And well, that's the topic, open question.
Thank you. Who wants to answer that question?
Well,
Francisco.
I think that governments or officials of the government are getting more and more involved in those kinds of solutions just for one pragmatic, if you want, reason, which is with the current way of providing health care, it's unsustainable. So we have just to check other ways to do, and who has an idea of reducing cost? Our solution, our complete solutions, does provide a 35% of cost reduction, proved. So those, the commitment of governments in those types of solutions, maybe it's not pure, but you can find it. The problem there is not their interest in changing the model. The problem is how a public sector can shift from buying products to buying health outcomes. Mm-hmm. How to do this in a public tender, for example, with the legal implications it has. This is a big barrier.
But
before arriving to the...
I have one question for you.
Please.
Do you think just coming back to your question, but do you think that if you buy outcome, you will not increase the cost at short term?
You should not. You should not. It has to be proven yet. It has to be proven, but the very few examples we already have, they don't. In fact, they increase the results with the same cost or even lowering it. But there are too few studies and not that massive to be very assertive on that. But they should not.
Yeah. Marc, do you want to add something?
Yes, I want to say that we are receiving more and more feedbacks from doctors, public hospitals, and that they are requesting, to do trials, to check, to try to do teleassistance, to catch data and then try to see if somebody is doing more activity or less activity, because some disease, then there are some relation with the activity of the user and so on. And what my feeling is that sometimes what we probably begin to need is more a better communication from the government, let's say, about why it's useful, why it's not a big problem if you are sharing some data about steps. Because I think that this will help to convince people to use devices and share some information with his own doctor at the end. So, and I think it's more related as well with the publicity, with the communication to the people.
Yeah, communication is a key point. In fact, it's one of the issues why many initiatives, the one in the UK, another one here in Catalonia, failed. Communication was not done properly, was not done in a transparent way, and citizens became afraid of sharing that data. So, yeah, I think it is one of the key points.
And it's not working, yeah?
It's not, sorry?
It's not working at all.
It's not.
And that's why prevention is not working.
Yeah.
It's not working.
I'm fully aware
and
of
it's not working with Captor and what you want. It's not working at all. There is millions of publications. It's not working. Prevention,
what do you think
prevention
has
is a
to be
black
done?
hole. In fact, it's a black hole where that's why it's super complex to work on prevention, because there is people who said one day, yes, you need to run. Okay, everybody knows you need to run. Okay, stop eating McDonald's and okay, everybody knows this. Stop smoking. Okay. So what? In fact, the states I think have done very good job, because for smoking cessation, what did they say? They said, okay, you stop smoking. It's not a discussion of we communicate. It's not good. Stop smoking. So nobody will smoke in the street. And after we raise the price of the smoking, so now the next step will be for insurance company, because today insurance are quite, in the US it's the case. So you smoke, okay, you pay for you. It's your problem, okay? The community will not pay anymore for your smoking. And after, there is big philosophical debate on this, because this is why we are a country. This is why we are people, and we are human, and human are different. So it's a very complex area where at pharma level, in fact, we are absolutely not, we try in fact to help, but it's always really complex to move something from, the results are always very, very poor on disease prevention.
Do you think we need a stronger position from the public administration as well as changing?
No. I think public is doing fantastic, because they try, they understand. What is probably the future is doing something little bit different. We talk about the question of the gentleman from Michael Page. This is right, Michael Page. And in fact, the question is, for me, in fact, the more that you are increasing the knowledge of diagnosis, the more that you are increasing the cost. So in fact, it's very simple. So you have 100 people arriving in the hospital and they are not well diagnosed and blah, 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 blah. They died sometime, but most of the time it's quite well managed. Imagine that you have a super system who is able to identify all the people who are doing arrhythmia. So in fact, you have people who are doing arrhythmia, they will have the diagnosis tool, so people will enter in the hospital and will have what? 1 million people entering in the hospital. And what's happened? In fact, you kill the health system. So that's why I think there is a balance between, and that's why it's always the, and it's quite complex. Data will probably solve a lot of things.
So I've got a few thoughts about prevention versus treatment. So intuitively, we all understand that if you can prevent a condition from happening, then it's going to be cheaper and better for the individual. Now, our healthcare systems were not designed to do that. Our healthcare systems historically were designed to isolate people from the rest of us because they had infectious diseases and to fix problems of trauma, injuries, and so on. Now, that's completely changed. In the last 50 years, we've had the great fortune to have wonderful advances in medical science. That means that we all, on average, have an extra 2 years life expectancy every decade. So as each decade goes by, we all get another 2 years. So now the average age or life expectancy in Europe is, over 70, in some countries over 80. Now, what does that mean? It means that we are more likely to develop long-term conditions because we have longer to develop them over. A lot of these things that cost so much in the healthcare system, congestive heart failure, COPD, type 2 diabetes, and now dementia becoming a factor, these are all things that take decades to develop, right? They don't just happen overnight. They take a long time, and they are, in many ways, very predictable. You can see the trajectory of them. So why don't healthcare systems spend more on prevention? The reason is it's not their design. They were not designed to do that. We leave that to kind of public health messaging in the government to basically say, don't smoke, don't drink too much, get more exercise. Now, clearly, as you said, that's not working very well. So what we need to look at now is the insights we're getting from the new field of behavioral economics. So what causes people to make decisions like that? What causes them to keep on smoking where they know it's going to shorten their life? In the end, it's an individual choice, but society does pay a cost for it. So I'd urge us to start looking at what we can learn from behavioral economics. And a very good place to start is the book by Daniel Kahneman, the Nobel Prize winner, called Thinking Fast and Slow, which is about how we perceive risk, how we perceive the future in a way. And I think if we can embody some of that into the systems that we're using, the applications that we have a chance of starting to nudge people in the right direction. It's very difficult for government to do much more than that, I think, because it's a big, it's what's called a wicked problem, right? Kind of intractable problem to fix. Data helps, but I think we also have to bring in economics and behavioral science on top of the data to make sense of it.
Very interesting. So next question, Javier?
Hello, I'm Javier Creos from Ideas for Change, and I would like to know, within all the developments you've been talking about, what's the role of citizens? What's the role of citizens? Because you've said that data is produced by devices, and I think it's produced by citizens using devices. I believe that data belongs to citizens, but it's very hard, and you put an example as how to recap your data wherever it is. No one knows where your Apple Heart data can be recollected. Maybe each of you have a different system on how citizens we can take hold of our data. So, and all you said is we need protection. Cannot we go more than protection as we've gone, let's say with Airbnb, providing lodgement to each other, or with Uber, providing transport to each other?
I don't quite get the question.
Yes, I listen a little bit what you say.
I would say is in this new data environment, data is produced by citizens. Data belongs to citizens. But from your words, I don't see a vision, a plan on what is the role of citizens in this new environment. All you said is citizens need protection. But I think with citizens, we're more prepared than just for protection.
Yes. This is what I said previously, in fact, with to Barbara. In fact, I understand, if I'm right, your question on what is the role of the citizen. And in fact, as I said, it's always, if you want that, for example, we can use the case of Barcelona. Barcelona is a big town, and you have a critical size, in fact, with hospital, university, and people who are living in this environment close to the sea and etc. So now the question, and it's a political decision, and with the citizen of Barcelona, but you can create an environment where healthcare and mobility and stuff like this will be handled by everybody. So, for example, if everybody can share his health data for I'm running, I'm taking my bicycle, because there is the people who are doing the bicycle road inside Barcelona. And in fact, the more we are decreasing the pollution, so I can have people who just wear something to identify the pollution in the air, etc. In fact, citizens are actors of this revolution. So now the big question, I think Barcelona is quite dynamic on this because you create this environment of mobility. So I think Barcelona give the power to citizens to say, okay, I can participate, I can improve. So I think everybody needs to be aware of what's happened. It's quite complex because most of the people don't know or you don't. It's quite difficult, in fact, to touch the heart of the people to say, okay, now you can change something by being active. So I think Barcelona is quite dynamic for this.
I would like to say something. You are the owner of your data. That's the first thing. In terms of Garmin, that's why I say the information goes to Garmin, but then you're managing your app, you're managing your life. Probably it's quite related with what I say before. It's the communication, it's the information together, companies, governments, whatever, to you, to inform you about what you could do with this information and how this information or this data could help you. Probably in that case, if you know about all the information you have over your hands, all the data you will have, then you will take more actions to improve your quality of life. So at the end, I come back to my point before. The important point is the communication.
Let me, because I think I think I can understand the fear of the misuse of my data. I think I can understand the fear of finding my data somewhere I didn't want them to end up, right? Having said that, and talking about healthcare data, maybe not the data that you get from a device you can buy somewhere in a shop, but the healthcare data, that are already protected by a protection law, which comes from the parliament that represent the citizens. I mean, there is a certain participation of the democratic citizenship in that law that can be changed or whatever, number one. And this is aggregated protection. But then you sign an informed consent of allowing the use for this and for that. I agree with you that very few people read those 10. I agree with you. If there is any other idea of how to do it, please raise your hand. We are happy to listen at your proposal, but they do. And in our case, we renew this informed consent, not needed by the law, because after 5 years, you may have changed or you may think other way. Or, for example, over 75, I think, we ask a relative to sign also the informed consent in order for, younger people, or however you want to call him, to be aware of what's happening. Having said that the protection, a certain kind of protection exists, what do citizens want to do with data? The only way of data to be leveraged positively for the population is to be managed in the appropriate settings, hospitals, universities, public sector using it for prevention or for individual citizens. What do they do with their own data on their own? It would be a pity not to share them or not to leverage the aggregate. Don't you think so? I mean, I'm not quite sure of what I'm saying. It's just
So
yes.
Now you mentioned, Airbnb and Uber as kind of examples of people sharing, peer-to-peer contracts and agreements between each other. Now, there has been such a thing in healthcare already. Anybody here heard of a website called Patients Like Me? A few people, yeah. Okay, so Patients Like Me was started about 10 years ago, and it was started because people who have incurable conditions, things for which there is really no medical answer, like motor neuron disease or multiple sclerosis, basically decided to get together online and to share what it was like to live with these conditions, and then to start talking in quite a lot of detail about what drugs they tried and what therapies and whether they tried yoga and meditation and so on. And the interesting thing is that this then became a very successful way of people creating these online communities, which were non-medical. They were basically about what works for me. And they almost became like support to people that were diagnosed with these conditions. So I think there are certainly possibilities to generate that kind of activity online. And we need to do more of it, I think, because, to medicalize everything, to say it's all going to be under medical control, that's not the right answer. If we can do more for ourselves with knowledge and data, then that's a good thing. That's what we should be doing.
Definitely. Thank you.
Can I give you an example? Sorry to interrupt you. I have a good example of power in a town. I come from Nice. It's a small town in the south of France. Okay, and in fact, but at that time I was working for another company, and in fact the idea was to create something to make the people aware of their cardiovascular risk. And in fact, we just called the mayor of Nice. And we said to the mayor, at that time was Philippe Pradal, and we said, Philippe, we could identify the people who are super high risk in your city, and we can give you the information of how you will spend your money, in fact, to do prevention, in fact, to do education with people. And also, because there is some terrorism at Nice, in fact, we will be able to link the post-traumatic stress and the heart rate level and said, okay, these people have hypertension because they are stressed due to events. And frankly, we have done this during 3 days on the main place of Nice, and it was a huge success. And we were using the tram for having more simple communication about heart disease, using the people coming from the south of Nice and west of Nice who are less high level or less people with, what I said, who are in, less privileged. Less privileged. Thank you very much. and in fact, it was a fantastic success. We screened probably the 500 people. So you see I think it's really it's a mix of technology because everything here was data, startups, university, calculation, and political dynamics to make the citizen empower in their town. And we visit the mayor of Barcelona last year, in fact, to implement this technology here.
Okay.
But at that time we didn't.
Yeah.
Well, sorry.
We have time for one more question. Over there, gentlemen.
I have, my name is Jean-Patrick Mathieu. I'm from Aquast, public thing. I have two questions, maybe I could make them in once.
Yeah.
One for Marc Rodríguez, the first one. 4 years ago, I was here in the same building, and we were on a wellness speak, and the speaker at that time said to the audience, don't worry about the health standards, don't worry about the interoperability or all these standards. Just make your apps and gather the data, because the importance is to change the habits of people, make them healthy, to be more healthier. So now today, I think when you talk more about working with clinicians and researchers. What has changed in those 4 years? What in your opinion has changed?
Nothing changed. I'm here from Garmin B2B side, B2B health side, which is part of Garmin. But at the end, I'm completely agree what you say, and what I say is it's more or less the same thing. But we are working together with different parts of the market, let's say. So at the end, we are working with applications more related with trials, tests, doctor tests, and so on. And we are also working with applications more related with gamification, with your empowerment by yourself, like checking your activity, like Strava's if you are using for bikes and so on. So it depends of the use, and that's why we have more than 350 partners around the world. because of that, and because the need to adapt our information to different niche of the market. And sometimes it's exactly the same information, but the way you are using this data and you are analyzing this data is completely different, and the accuracy is the algorithm that you are using to treat this information.
And my second question is to Francisco from Medtronic. You said that you're creating a software to gather data from the 5 different devices. So you're kind of creating a fornox of data, of virtual gold. Can you tell us about your security approach and what protection of data that you from Medtronic have?
I'm afraid I'm not able to get in details, but I'm sure you will understand me because Aquas supervised from the very beginning this concrete example of São Paulo, so I'm sure it accomplished with what it has to. It is a product that is EC marked, has the guarantee of EC marked as a healthcare product, even if it's just software. And as far as we know, guarantees are there for managing data. But I'm afraid I can't give you technical details further than this, which is enough. Having the EC mark, believe me, is not easy at all. Believe me, it's not easy at all. It took some time. It took some time. It is also FDA approved.
Okay, well, I'm afraid we need to close this session, even if we would spend here a couple of more hours, but you need to take a flight, people need to go back to the office. So I would like to have a sentence from each one of you summarizing an insight, something that you want to tell to finish the discussion. So Marc, do you want to start, please?
Thank you. Well, probably the important thing is how to inform and how to understand the data you are sharing and the data you are catching from your own device, and empowerment by yourself.
Okay.
Like a summary.
I mean, it's very simple. It's people first.
It's people?
That's good.
People first.
People first. Not frost. First.
Not frost. We can frost also. We have a lot of very
Just
smart
understand.
technology,
Just
huh?
understand. Yeah.
But
Francisco.
Well, I would think that I would say that data, coming 10 years, will be a very relevant source of progress and development in healthcare.
Jan?
That's a really hard question, isn't it? I would leave you just with the idea that we've had a lot of talk about evidence-based practice, the idea that we look at medical evidence and use that when we are consulting and giving advice to patients. We now have to turn that around and talk about practice-based evidence. Let's generate more insight about what we're doing to patients, about how drugs are working, how treatments are working, where value is being created, and let's use that to inform how we design our healthcare systems.
Thank you. And now that Marc has
Let
had
me
some time.
add another thing. Don't be afraid by data, and data could help you. So at the end, I think it's the important thing.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I want to thank you for this very exciting discussion, and I want to invite you to get to the front row to continue with mobile talk. And now we are moving. Now we are moving to the next part. We've been discussing a lot about theory, knowing a couple of experiences from our experts. And we want to show you concrete proposals, concrete projects and ideas coming from companies, organizations, from the ecosystem that want to solve the issue of data management and governance models. So as most of you know, DLAF is a program of MWCapital that launches societal challenges that can be answered with innovative technologies. The second challenge that was launched in May was about the topic we discussed today. And we were very lucky to receive 28 proposals of tremendous high quality with a 39% of international participation. Today, we will present to you the 6 finalists, and then we will announce the 2 winners of the second challenge. So with this, I would like to get the video on the screen so that you can also meet the finalists. Thank you.
Hello, at B1 we are changing the approach towards women's health. Women's bodies are complex and because of that cannot be treated in silos. They have to be treated in a transversal way. Other apps focus on fertility, pregnancy or cycle, but we focus on other things. We're collecting data not only from the symptoms but also from the daily habits and other platforms that our users use. Because of that, we can set patterns. If we can set patterns, we can predict behaviors and early detection of symptoms. And because of them, we can change them. We're excited to be DLAB famous because it will offer us the opportunity to scientifically validate the data that we collect from our users who already have confirmed that our app is impacting positively in their healthy life. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Do you remember what did you do the last time that you didn't feel well and had symptoms? Some people call their mothers, others ask Google, and others start scheduling appointments with doctors one after the other. Whatever you did the last time, we know that 70% of the times the decision we make at that point is simply wrong. Medictor now helps you make the right decision by checking your symptoms online and connecting you with the right level of care at any moment. Health insurance companies, governments, providers, telemedicine platforms, all of them can now use Medictor as a white label technology to provide the best advice to the people on what to do next when symptoms appear. Winning the DLAB challenge would allow us to reach more people and access more and more data about symptoms and conditions to transform the way people access healthcare all across the world. So please make your best decision today and join Medictor.
Hi, I am Marina and I have epilepsy for more than 13 years. My father David is an engineer and the last 4 years he dedicated to make my life better.
Hello, we are David, Xavi and Salva. We have founded MJN 3 years ago. We have a medical device that is able to predict an epileptic seizure 1 minute before it happens. We can prevent accidents and injuries from seizures.
MGN device is an important improvement for neurology because we can record brain activity in a continuous way.
My team and I are on a mission to make healthcare secure. We founded Patientory from our frustrations with not being able to access our health data, not to mention the growing concern around data breaches. We need a secure, scalable, and cost-effective healthcare cybersecurity solution that allows for communication across different platforms. This is made possible with Patientory. Our mission is to empower patients globally by securely giving them access to their health information and connecting them with their many caregivers using blockchain technology. Among our many recognitions, we were recently named the top 11 company disrupting healthcare in 2017. We've just earned $7.2 million through our global token launch and ready to execute global pilots. We have an experienced team and broad-based advisory board to help us grow and are very excited about changing the face of healthcare coordination and security in Barcelona through partnerships with DLAB. Please join us on our mission in making healthcare secure. Thank you.
David Creus, uno de los coimpulsores de SaludScope. Nuestra iniciativa pretende una cosa muy sencilla, que todos los ciudadanos que queramos podamos poner en común nuestros datos de salud, venga de donde vengan, y juntos decidamos en qué condiciones los prestamos para la investigación. El efecto que queremos conseguir es que haya abundancia de datos para la investigación, que más gente pueda investigar, que se puedan investigar cosas diferentes y acelerar las líneas que ya existen. Nos encantaría que el DILA y sus socios tecnológicos y su sistema de relaciones nos ayudara a desarrollar los 2 pilotos previstos para el año que viene. Muchas gracias.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Leonel Arnedo, soy socio fundador de Encore Lab y hoy me gustaría presentaros nuestro producto en desarrollo C-Safe. C-Safe es un detector de crisis epilépticas nocturnas. Se compone de un sistema de detección que incorpora un sensor que se instala en la cama, de una cámara que graba los ataques epilépticos y de una aplicación móvil utilizada por los cuidadores. C-Safe funciona de tal forma que cuando se produce una crisis epiléptica, el sistema de detección la detecta y activa la cámara y envía una alerta al smartphone. De esta forma, el cuidador puede comprobar si efectivamente se está produciendo una crisis y atender al afectado. C-Safe pretende mejorar la calidad de vida de los afectados de epilepsia y de sus cuidadores, proporcionando un mejor descanso, una mayor intimidad e independencia. Además, C-Safe guarda toda esta información y la comparte a través de una cloud con los doctores, de forma que estos pueden utilizar esta información para su análisis y para mejorar los tratamientos. C-Safe, en el futuro, cuando tenga un número relevante de usuarios, aportará una información de gran valor para proyectos de investigación, para evaluar el funcionamiento de fármacos, en general para mejorar los tratamientos relacionados con la epilepsia. Nuestra idea es ayudar a los afectados de epilepsia, que son más de 50 millones a nivel mundial, y a sus familias. Actualmente, C-Safe está totalmente desarrollado, pero necesitamos validarlo en hospitales. Por ello, la iniciativa de D-Lab es de sumo interés para nosotros. Muchas gracias por su atención. Saludos.
Well, all the finalists are in the audience with us today, so I would like to ask for a big applause for their hard work. Thank you. And with this, we are going to announce the 2 winners. The process is the following. I call on stage Mr. Constantí Serrallonga, is our CEO at MWCapital. He will be the one announcing the 2 winners. And please, if you hear your name, one representative, just come up and you'll be able to speak for a couple of minutes about this opportunity.
Okay, thank you. I'm very proud of being here today. Sincerely, congratulations to everybody. My role is about opening the envelope. The first winner is MGN Neurosurveys.
Felicitats.
Gràcies. Okay, we have here today, as you have saw and watched, Marina. We've been 3 years working for her and also all the patients that has seizures, and we really want to predict and help them. So thank you so much for this awkward. Do you want to say something? No, she's shy. So today she has skipped school, and we're not going to tell her to her father that she's here. We're going to keep this between us. But he's going to be so happy to know that we have won this award. Thank you so much for everything.
Let's go for the second winner. And the second winner of the lab second challenge is Salus Cop.
Thank you so much. In name of the team, Juan Gañavens, my partner Bárbara Vallespín, Andrea Barbiero, and so many people that have helped us thought about how we citizens can we pull our information from clinical, from behavior, social, even environment, and jointly decide how, under which conditions, do we give it for research. In this way, by trusting each other in making decisions, by trusting on the blockchain to express consent, we can jointly develop the collective outcomes we want from the health systems. We can take personal benefits in the sort of services, and we can collaborate with all the industry. And that's a way we can put the citizens at the front of the research agenda. Thank you so much.
Enhorabona. Moltes gràcies. Well, and this is all for today. I hope that you have enjoyed the session as much as we have. And I would like to give a couple of thank yous. Thank you to our ambassadors of this second challenge. Thank you to Clinic Hospital of Barcelona. Thank you, Albert. Thank you to TIC Salud Foundation, who's been a great supporter throughout all the time of DLab. Thank you to ACES, who has done a great job in terms of dynamizing and engaging people coming to this session. Thank you to GSMA for your support, your help. And thank you, Research to Guidance. They are not here, they are in Germany, but I know they will be very happy with the result. I want to thank also the DLab team. They've done a great job, and I'm sure that what you are going to see in the next couple of months with the pilots that are already running and the new ones to be started will be really fantastic and will be a digital transformation for real citizens. I'm very proud of the full members of the lab, so thank you very much for your work. And two final messages. The next mobile talk will be in November, and it will be about digital talent, how to attract and how to retain the talent out there. And don't forget that in September, we are launching a new challenge, the third one. It will be about the fighting of cyberbullying. So we invite you, as always, to present your submissions and your ideas. With this, I want to close the session today, and I invite you to go to the networking reception that we have prepared right in the next room. Thank you very much for your attention, and have a great day. Thank you.